I said, why? Well,
No, but wait a minute. That's not gonna do the life.
Huh?
It's not gonna do life.
No?
Because when my tablet life has to be like this, or it's not gonna show. Or wait a minute. Rotate your.
Yeah, we're live. Oh, no, we're live.
Hey, was that a new view or something? Because
we're live now, bro.
We're live now.
but look, it rotated it now. So okay, Spencer. Oh, it is live. Oh right, Spencer. And I can see you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Alright, thank you.
Yes, you guys are live, and it looks good, man. How did they?
We'll start off with the
Oh, wait.
Go ahead. No, yeah, put it down.
Oh, right here.
Oh, what everybody used to hear. I'm going to hear about that, right? Because a lot of people are getting confused when it comes to, you know, things like that. People testing for not democracy, but against that for one because really secular. That's right.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I know. I'm with you. So, you know, people get confused, so they gotta hear this perspective.
Well, I had forgot she was sick, and I told my daughter, "Oh, I'm gonna
Nice stuff.
Cool.
But when I talked to her, I go, "Oh no, I can't take you
Yeah,
there." And my son was like,
Okay.
"Are you crazy bringing her
Guys,
over
go ahead.
here?"
Yeah.
So I said, "No, you're gonna have to." She goes, "I
Okay.
know I want to go and get him sick."
Hey, everybody tuning in.
They asked me, "Could I bring your mom?" And he said, "Sure." But he sounded horrible.
Everybody tuning in, just please share. Hi, Kiko.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Eddie. Yeah,
Hey,
tune
everybody.
in. Definitely. We'll start soon.
Still inviting people.
Yeah, definitely. Share.
Say hi to everybody. Welcome into the new year.
Yeah, send us your questions. Send us your comments.
Welcome into the new year.
Village Voice Radio, same energy. New Year,
Maybe more than
maybe more energy. Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
very good.
if you can't tune in for the entire show, make sure to check out our podcast on SoundCloud. Got that up. Go to our website, which is in our About Me section. People Over Profits. Check us out. How you doing, Eddie?
All right, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm glad everybody's back. Happy New Year's, everybody.
MC Eddie, the man
Yeah.
behind the camera all the time.
Yeah. I pretty well.
Yeah. We gotta keep moving.
Cheers, man.
Eddie's wonderful.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Gloria.
Hello,
And
Happy New Year.
And we got Paco.
We got Paco, yeah. Getting ready for our 2018 first show. Yeah. We're gonna talk about East Coast time syrup.
Nice. So, first do some introductions here.
All right. So behind the camera we have MC Eddie.
Yeah.
Holla at your boy. Happy New Year,
Right on.
Eddie.
Happy New Year.
We got Kiku. Feliz año. Thank you for coming. Yeah, she's a member of People with Profits. She's just a wonderful soul, wonderful being. Thank you for being here. And Gloria, thank you for being here
Thank
too.
Gloria.
Eddie, yeah, Happy New Year, Gloria. And let's start out the show. My name is Juan Carlos, People with Profits San Diego. Today we have a couple of special guests here. We have three. We have Francisco Mendoza from People with Profits San Diego. Happy New Year.
Feliz año. Everything's all awesome. I'm excited to start the new year with a bang. So many great things to do. So many people being woke.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh
stay
my
woke.
goodness. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got Paco here. Happy New Year to you, my brother. And we have Paul Aceves from Unión del Barrio, who is yearning to start off the new year in the right foot.
No, the left foot.
The left foot. Yeah,
The left foot is right.
Yeah. How are you, Paul?
I'm good. We made it through 2017. Raza and everybody else, and everybody. We made it. We survived a year of Donald Trump. We survived a year of colonial violence, and not that we didn't have it before. And now it's time to organize and struggle. I'm very excited about this new year. We're very excited and looking forward to upping that resistance and kicking it up a few notches on the system and its lackeys and apologists.
Yep, and kicking off the show, I can't wait to hear that. Kicking off the show on the left foot, on the right foot, which way you want to put it, whichever end of the spectrum you're in. We're going to start off the People with Profits San Diego way, which is talking about mass incarceration and ways to proliferate the injustices of our people there. We have a very special guest tuning in to the show. Her name is Joanna, and she is running East Coast Time Serve. And I know that Francisco Mendoza, our brother in arms here, has had contact with her. Can you give us a little bit of info on East Coast Time Served or whatnot when she gets on the phone as well?
Yeah, for sure. What we're looking for is, we're looking for answers. This is the new civil rights movement that is going on today. Because slavery was never abolished; it was actually just transferred into the criminal justice system, and so we're connecting with one of our sisters.
With Joanna, yeah, she's gonna be on the phone shortly here.
So they're pretty woke in Florida as well, and so we connected with them, and so we're gonna start pushing campaigns here in California. We have a few initiatives that we're gonna be addressing this year that's gonna reinstate, put people back in the playing field. A lot of times when you get incarcerated, you get stripped of being a human. Let that sit in for a little bit. Just because you made a mistake in your life, you're stripped of being a human. You become subhuman, actually. And you become, on this level of playing field where, opportunities are very minimal. And so you either go through one pipeline or the other, just to try to self-sustain. So we're going to be addressing some of those things and how some of our communities and our community members, our families that are being exploited, targeted by corporations, companies, just because a family member has made a mistake. And so what we're trying to do is address the issues today, of price gouging within the criminal justice system. It's outrageous. You would be like super mad if you knew, if this was happening to you, and I'm sure it's happening to a lot of us and our family members, because this is a family thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and connect with her.
Okay, we'll give you some time to connect with her.
In the meanwhile, you go ahead and...
Yeah, definitely. So price gauging inside of correctional facilities is not regulated by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, anywhere. So this is an important topic. Paco was giving me an example about ramen the other day. How ramen is sold out here for maybe as low as 5 cents. I've seen it as low as 5 cents, but the 99 cents store. But inside of correctional facilities, they're sold for more than $1.20, pushed to the limit, and this is a meal that a lot of incarcerated individuals have to be forced to eat because they can't afford other things. And in order to add flavor, Paul was telling me last week as well that they try to buy hot Cheetos or things that are just cheaper than nutritional things because they can't afford it.
Well, actually, it's pushed on you. A lot of the food that is served in prisons is not made for human consumption. So they're still serving it to humans. So a lot of people don't want to eat that, and so it could cause other health issues aside from having to going and eat in a place that is not really a healthy place to eat. I think it would get probably an F-.
Minus.
Yeah, if the FDA went in there and did inspections, like they do in restaurants and stuff, as they should, because people are eating there. It should be a place where it should be inspected. What do you think?
Well, you know, one of the things that we talked about, I think that we were talking about this earlier. I think all of us off camera were, and I remember when we formed the Chicano Mexicano Prison Project, and we started talking about some of the things, and Ernesto Bustillos, who was our leader, a really visionary in this area, and it was the early '90s, and price gouging going into. And I was just perusing that a little bit. I was looking over it. You know, if you look at it, I was just on a trip up and down California. I was in San Francisco and Oakland, and then I came back, drove through Bakersfield and everything. And now, you know, you see places like Avenal, and you see these other places, towns that were little hick towns a long time ago, 20, 30 years ago, because of the prison industry, and also some of the towns out in the Imperial Valley that were once impoverished. Because of the prison industry, not everybody, but a sector of those areas have become these boom towns. But what's happened is they've become a boom town off the back of mostly Raza and African American and working class people. And so they're a provider of quote unquote jobs to some people, not everybody. Hotels, shopping malls, and everything are able to go up. Because a lot of our people will go to see a family member, get up there and find out they're under lockdown. So they have to get a hotel room. Hotel rooms can cost, I was reading on there, like $90 a person. For the hotels for a night.
They price gauge the hotels, you know, because most of the prisons are out in very, out in the boondocks.
Rural, yeah.
There's nothing there, so all the hotels and stuff, they capitalize on that, and they overcharge people because they know they have to pay to stay somewhere, you know, and so that's just one of the costs that families have to endure, just to go and visit a family member, and it's really ironic is that, you know, CDC policy, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation policy, is that they really they promote family. You know, they promote, you know, coming to visits and stuff, but they make it so difficult for families to do that. I mean, that they don't provide any type of assistance whatsoever.
No, not only that, they make it harder.
They actually make it harder, and so. One of the things, you know, that's one of the things that they price gauge.
Yeah.
You know, not only that, but also, you know, the foods and things like that in those rural areas, they skyrocket.
What were you telling me that since it's not limited to just food, you were telling me something about phones, about charging them to call out. I saw here that for a 5-minute phone call, they were charged $18. There's a plaintiff here. Charged $18 for a 5-minute phone call.
Price gouging.
Price
gouging. And there's, like I said, there's no oversight. They give, especially in these private prisons, you know, the main private prison that CCA, which is now Core Civic, they relabeled themselves because they're trying to hide the dirty business.
Right.
Yeah. And so what they do, this is really, you know, we want to encourage this. So if you're watching and if you have family members that are incarcerated and are probably shipped out of state in these private prisons, or locally there may be in private prisons as well. You guys really have the power, because the power belongs to the people, even if you're incarcerated. And so these are for-profit prisons. And so one of the things that people that are incarcerated can do to protest these injustices is not just price gouging, but also the medical injustices, the mental health injustices that go on in these facilities. All you got to do is sit down. Sounds pretty simple, huh?
It does sound pretty simple, but what type of effect would that have on the system?
Well, if it's a for-profit system, if you sit down, there's no profit. There's loss. You know, so this is how we're going to have to play the game against these people. And not only with the private prison industrial complex, but also with the city government, county government. I mean, the people have the power. We are the employers. We are their employers. We pay their salaries.
That's right.
And let's remember, too, that when we talk about the privatization of prisons, we're not just talking about the privately run prisons.
Yes.
We're talking about the fact that public prisons are using private concessions for all these things, the phone companies, the people that run the little concessions there, the prison labor, which for 10 cents a day or whatever it is, 25 cents an hour, is used to make everything from Victoria's Secret to Starbucks coffee to Levi's to everything else. So hand over fist
to the podium that the judge sits at, that that sentenced you.
So we say it rests. So we say it rests on a pedestal of stolen labor. That's a really good example. We're living, and actually, just recently, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, the Grand Dragon. The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, wants to bring back debtors' prisons.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
for people who are behind on their student loans and all kinds of nonsense. So we have to understand something else. I know I say this every time I'm on the show, and I think we do. Is that a lot of us, I think, in our community have bought into that idea that the people that are in prison. It's a lot easier to go to prison to get locked up, and it will become a lot easier than a lot of us think. And we have to understand this is everybody's problem.
Yeah.
And it's a community issue. It's a lot easier to get snared up in the system because right now prisons are a kind of drug. They're a kind of crack that they need to live. And our job is to make it harder and harder for them to live and actually cut off their supply.
Yeah. To add to the nature, the gravity of this is, the first thing, not just a little bit sad. The first thing that Donald Trump did as president is enact a contract with P.O.P.S.D for I think it was upwards of $10 million. It was much more than that, but that's the first thing he did as president. You hear about Jeff Sessions.
Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
Same thing.
Jefferson Beauregard Sessions the third. If I don't understand.
Okay. Anyway, he wants to go ahead and do that. What Paul just said. The sense of urgency is there, and what we like to call this is not what we like to call this. Actually, unfortunately, what we have to call mass incarceration is legal slavery.
It is.
It is exactly that, and it needs to be taken to the face and needs to be reflected upon.
So let's bring up a little bit of the history where we come to that conclusion. So People Over Profits has been invested in shutting down mass incarceration and the corporate greed that drives it. And usually they use these political tactics such as the war on drugs. They're actually claiming it right now. Mr. Senor Sessions, the proprietor stockholder of private prison stocks, is really promoting incarceration instead of rehabilitation. And so, the people are woke now. People are not going to be putting up with any of this. As a matter of fact, even the people that have voted these people into office are saying like, damn, I think we made a mistake, And so we want to bring to light, everything else that's involved with having somebody that's incarcerated, a family member, a loved one, a friend, just to get there. You can imagine the cost because most of these prisons are in isolated places, You're going, even, the nearest one outside of San Diego County is Imperial Valley. And there's Centinela out there, and then there's Calipatria. These are level 3, level 4 prisons. This is where people are doing real time, the higher the level, the more time that you're doing, obviously. And so these are people that are going to be there for a long time, and families have to travel from all over the state. And even out of state, there's out-of-state families. So you have to take in effect the cost just to get to see someone, And sometimes you get there and they don't let you in because you're wearing the wrong color dress, or because you're wearing this, that, or the other, too tight, or whatever it may be. They run prisons like if they are actually dictators,
Tyrants.
every guard, and they treat family members as if they were also incarcerated.
That's one of the perks.
Yeah, exactly.
In addition to the obscene ass salary they make, that's one of the perks.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the way that they replenish by denigrating another population, like they replenish the Calipatria area, the rural area, whatever it may be, 1,000 moles, or I don't know what that area is called. That town flourishes to a degree, to the expense of all those people being denigrated, dehumanized in every which way possible, and their family members, and everybody around them, exploited.
And a sector of that town, because my family, for instance, is from Calexico. So some people go to get to work in prisons. But I can promise you that the rest of that town, if you're not in the prison or you're not in someplace like that, is just as economically depressed as it was before.
Yeah.
It just has another mall and a few nice things there. But in general, that doesn't really do anything for the whole question of really providing sustainable employment. What it does, it buys off a sector of people, and usually you're talking about that poor white sector or some small sector of African Americans or raza that that are not used against other people, and that's what you have to understand. And that kind of foundation, really, let's think about that. The fact that you have to have people locked up for you to have a nice house and a swimming pool. And I see people, I don't know, we see people all the time. What are you going to do? I'm going to trabajar en la prisión. I'm going to go work in the prison. I'm going to be a correctional officer. I'm going to go work in the prison guard. Or you have situations where we have people that are counselors that make a whole hell of a lot more money than I think either one of us that were made working in a nonprofit, right? And probably doing a whole lot less. So we have to, sorry, I had to throw that in, but we have to really look at what's happening to a society where for people to be prosperous, they have to oppress other people. And to have it to be to the point where oppressing other people is your livelihood, so you defend that shit like a dog with a bone, and you actually get to the point where you sadistically enjoy doing that to folks.
Now, do you have something to add, Paco? Oh, okay. Now, some of us have to live within the confines of the system that we already have here, presented to us. And it's our job to make those around us, especially those who work inside of those facilities, like those correctional officers, those prospective correctional officers, to understand that they're not just going into a field where they're going to make X amount of money. They're going to go into a career field where they go into a field where they dehumanize and denigrate with openness and honesty. And the rehabilitation factor is only put at a lower scale. So it's us to do the job to make those causes evident to them, that sense of awareness of what they're doing. But the thing that lies within that of making everybody aware is the power that we have, the power that incarcerated individuals have as well, which is East Coast time served. It is such a powerful movement. And I really wish that are we having trouble with Joanna getting in contact with her?
Yeah, she hasn't responded.
Okay. Well, if Paco, if you could just tell the people how when Paco told me this, I got super excited. I was like, we need to do this right away. Everybody who he tells is right on that path. East Coast time serve is something that's gonna pop off, and it's popping off right now. The concept of it is straight people power in general. Paco, could you please shed some light on just East Coast time served and what the concept is behind it and how this is so powerful?
So one of the things that we're trying to do for California, in California, 1 out of every 3 people have been involved in the criminal justice system. 1 out of 3. So this is affecting everyone. Not everyone is a felon, but they're affected by the criminal justice system. So why one of the questions that were raised was, why does somebody lose their voting rights or their privileges as a citizen when they commit a crime? And I haven't been able to get an answer from anybody. I mean, let's be the devil's advocate here. Why does one lose?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's no ostensible, real, legal reason why that would happen. Now, I know the reasons that we get, which is because they committed a crime and have to pay and blah, 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 right? That's what we get. But let's look at it. I'm glad you brought that up. Why would somebody lose all that, especially if they're a working, contributing member of society? Because I promise you, anybody who's locked up these days is a working, contributing member of society who's being vastly underpaid. And so that is a good question. And I'll go, like I said, I'll go out on a limb. I'm not a legislator, I'm not a lawyer, but I'll just say there is no real justifiable reason why someone would lose every single right they would have.
Yeah, and our so-called forefathers, held that principle to value. They didn't hold other principles to value, but they held that one to value. So the states of Maine and Vermont never took that away. Never took that away from their citizenry. And go ahead. I just wanted to add that fact. I wanted to know that. Yeah. Paco, did you want to mention something else where you're going with that in California with your people? In California, 1 out of 3 people are incarcerated.
Yeah, they're affected by the criminal justice system. So those of us, which is the majority of us, which is what I don't understand is, why do some of us go against our own self-interest, against the interests of our community. But it's really ironic that people do that when the power is we the people, community with a big U, but we have voting rights. These people are our workers. We hired them. They're our employees, And so why don't we change, if a company hires employees that are not doing, what the company needs them to do, what happens to that employee?
That's right. The thing is that the company, who it's run by, they're doing exactly what they wanted to do. The problem is that we should be running the company, and the whole question is we have to be running.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Joanna,
Hey,
Joanna,
Joanna's
this time in here.
Let's hear it, Joanna. Hey, Joanna.
Hey, hi, Joanna.
Hello, Joanna.
Got our viewership over here. That's Joanna. If you can't hear her, we'll have the podcast up. But chime in nonetheless. Yeah.
So, here we are. Shit.
Hey.
Yeah, amongst of us. Huh?
That's right.
So listen, we're talking about the price gouging and the exploitation of people that have family members that are incarcerated. So we want to bring that out to light because most people don't understand, the cost that that happens to a family. And everybody says, playing the devil's advocate. Everybody says, well, they shouldn't have committed the crime in the first place. If you can't do the time, don't do the time, right?
Well, I am so excited to speak to you all and to give you the latest and the greatest. First, let me say, to God be the glory for giving me this awesome opportunity to be alive in this day and age, to be able to do something awesome for humanity, because it's the we party that I'm ready. The number one thing is, we as taxpayers and voters and citizens and felons have allowed employees, aka politicians, to totally destroy our lives. So, unlike anything you gentlemen have ever heard of before, this is the real deal. This is not a joke. We party. There are less than 1,000 employees we call politicians in the United States that is destroying everything. There are only 50 governors, 1 president. There are only 535. There are Congress, senators, representatives, which equal 535. And once I'm asking you for your support for us to launch the We Party campaign. We are the boss. This is not to march again to keep marching. I'm changing the culture. Here it is. No equals no election, no re-election. That's it. No equals no election, no re-election. We do not have to negotiate, nor bargain, nor beg. Employees, this is what we're doing.
That's right.
They are an employee. They are a representative.
That's right.
Allow them to govern us at our will, but once they get in office, they have lost their minds and try to become a monarchy.
That's called mental health. They have mental health challenges once you get elected, right?
Well, we can't blame them. It's the taxpayers and voters. All over the United States, they're begging one state weed is legal, the other state is illegal. We have millions of Americans smoke marijuana every day, and they are not destroying the U.S. And still, cigarettes are illegal by the government's hand. Once again, our employees, felons can't work
Mhm.
Sir, we are the boss. Felons need to recognize.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
One, felons should not have to pay taxes if you can't vote or if you can't get housing or
That's right.
jobs. Well, that sounds insane. No, what sounds insane is felons not being able to vote, get housing or jobs. I am dedicated to helping to reduce crime, violence, and increasing public safety through economics and financial empowerment. The number one thing is we can reclaim our rights as citizens. And when they say no, we say hell no.
Hell no.
That's right.
That's right.
You know what they say out there. No justice, no peace. Yes,
No justice, no peace, and fuck the police. Yeah.
no right, no housing, no vote equal. That's it.
Ah.
And that's what I'm asking you all to support. This is what's going to change. We're going to do
You
this
got
like
it.
a homosexual
You got the
did.
support.
The homosexual stood up and said, we the boss, you employee, and they got gay rights overnight.
All right, all right. Well, this is Joanna from East Coast Time Served here.
Thank you, Joanna.
Joanna, this is Juan Carlos speaking from People or Prophets, San Diego here. Definitely be. Yeah, I'm great. How are you? That's good. Thank you for joining us again. We also have Paul Aceves from Unión del Barrio here, and we're enthusiastic with your enthusiasm. To be honest with you, we wanna hear a little bit more on what got you energized to do this, and how can we support?
Okay, first I got attacked back in like 1999 or 2000, and for lack of evidence, I accepted a plea deal because it was like the evidence was against me, even though I was in the right. So I took the deal, and I found myself up felon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a celebrity reporter. I interview all the multi-millionaire stars. I had a column. I'm from Philadelphia, but I live here in Florida. So God took me from free north to put me to slave south for a reason. They call me the Harriet Tubman of the felons, the inmates, and the prisoners go, but I call myself Moses. Let my people go.
Hey.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Don't look for employment. Take advantage of the opportunity. One case of water equals part-time minimum wage. You don't have to beg nobody to let you make $10 an hour. Sell $10 a water. Sell $20 a water.
That's
This is
right.
what America have to realize. You don't need a job to make money. So this is a missing balance with economics because we can't just keep preaching to people. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So I found myself coming back to society, writing my column, but that's a starving artist job. So I apply here, apply there, and all of a sudden I find I can't get a job because they don't hire felons. So that what put me on the path, but I didn't realize that that was just God putting me on my mission. That's why he put me in prison. Because what I know about prison, nobody can put this in a book. I know that there's price gouging in prison because I was there, not because of what somebody tell me. I know that they charging 88 cents for 20 Motrin at the Walmart, but it costs $1 employees. The government is our employees. And everything that I'm talking about, we can have and obtain in less than 2 to 4 years, less than 1 to 2 elections. We can blow this out of the water.
That's right.
I'm going to get back on the question, but let me give you this real quick, please.
Okay.
This is a blueprint. Felons can be claimed on taxes. Felons should have to pay taxes, but that's not going to work. What we can go for legislatively is felons being claimed on taxes, inmates being claimed on taxes. They are dependents. My platform is an economic public safety. That way we'll have everybody's attention.
That's
This
right.
is not about felon rights. It's about citizen rights, taxpayer rights, and rebuilding. And this keeps public people unsafe in society because there's only 2 ways to make money: legal and illegal. And people want to choose one. And you don't want to be busting their head at the ATM or your house broken into because a felon can't get a job.
That's right. That's
All right,
awesome.
All right. Papa, go ahead. You want to say questions?
Yeah. So this is an exploitation of a community. You know, not just individuals or families or people that are incarcerated. I love that you brought up the point where you said this isn't about, you know, criminality. It's not about felons or non-felons. It's about citizens. And one of the questions before you came on the air, one of the questions that we had was, why would somebody lose their rights because they've committed a crime? What would be your response?
Because we've allowed our employees.
Thank you.
See, the average, and I don't try to be the smartest person in the room. If anybody asks me what university I went to, I'm going to tell them P.O.P.S.D, the public broadcast system. I am something that 30 minutes and 1 hour will give you 4 years worth of education. So I can make
That's
a
right.
simple breakdown for people like this.
That's right.
But people don't realize who the boss is.
Yeah.
The people are separated from the government. Look at Obama election. People never voted and never was registered in their lifetime. But we don't have a lifetime here. Black people, Chico people, brown people, whatever, we ain't got 30, 40 years separated from civil rights. Come on now.
Yeah.
The dope crack era screwed everybody up. Everybody put it in the world with. But I'm going to get y'all on point. And one quick sentence. Contra era.
Iran Contra.
Contra. Check me out now. A lot of things, what I do, I pay attention to what people are talking about and what they want and what they're complaining about. So, a lot of people want people pardoned. A lot of people want people, these sentencing laws reversed, repealed, but they don't know it's all legislative reform. So the best examples I can give to people is how to help empower them so that they can get on point. For instance, I'm working it down here in Florida by telling regular men, felons, and thugs, check this out. Why aren't you working for the city or the state? They say, because I'm a felon. I say, no, that's not why you're not working. You're not working for them because you won't own up to you're the boss. You see, it ain't but a handful of them. And a handful of them have told you,
That's right.
you cannot work for the city or the state.
Yeah.
But what you don't realize is they're an employee. And why would you allow the employee to deny you the right to do anything?
That's right.
If you fire and remove them, and then the rest of them get their impression that, oh no, you better not make these moves. Remember back in the day when senators and New York, remember what they used to do to them? They used to kill their ass.
Back in the day, yeah, they kept it for real. That's right. That's right.
Right on.
That's right. Hey.
So we don't need to do that. I'm not violent, but this is what. So I'm By the way, I launched the Felon Freedom Fund. This is why I'm asking for you guys' support to help that. We can launch it in California, Pennsylvania.
I got you back at the chiropractor.
We want all inmates to donate $1 statewide, nationwide to the Felon Freedom Fund. What do we use it for? So we can file class action lawsuits. That's the ACLU them down.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to. Yeah.
Just out here. I'm just what Dad, we have been like a rat trap in the maze, but God gave me you and he sold me out. He said, do what the homosexuals did. And that's all we need to do. They stood up and told them we will vote every single one of you out of office if you don't give us these gay rights. And overnight they got gay rights. And this is a triple F threat, by the way, gentlemen. Family, felon, and friends. But every felon, they can get 1 to 10 of their family members and friends registered and vote. And we can swing any election nationwide.
That's right. That's right.
That's right, Joanna. Well,
Right on point, Joanna.
Definitely. So we appreciate you calling in, and we will be in definite contact with you, and we completely support East Coast Time Serve. And thank you again, Joanna. This was Joanna from East Coast Time Serve.
Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you
Hey,
so much.
Joanna. Hey.
I didn't even know I was with this
Yeah, Joanna.
but that's what's up, y'all. Give
People
me
of
your
P.O.P.S.D.
Hey, hey, you're down here in Dago.
In Dago. The south part of Dago.
I'm just telling y'all, I'm a breast cancer survivor, but since I got him off of the table, I've been at it right back.
Right on.
That's
Ah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Hey, we love you, bro. Hey,
All power to the
you
people.
know, you're all good head up to us, and we're gonna be doing this together.
Yeah, we got your back like a chiropractor.
Attorney, that's what we need. We can, at the very least, we should be like filing some sort of thing to cease and desist with this price gouging.
That's right.
Class action lawsuit can come at any time.
We're working on that.
We identified
We on
and
it.
they jump on it. I love y'all. Thank you for your
Thank
support.
you.
Hey,
All
we'll
right,
talk to
take
you.
care.
We'll
Thank you
talk
so
to you
much,
later,
man.
man. We'll see ya.
Right on.
Have a good
And
night.
for all of you tuning in, we're sorry.
See ya, everybody.
Sorry. All right, take care. Take care, Joanna. Much love. That's East Coast
Right on.
Time Serve, Joanna.
Joanna.
For all of you who couldn't see Joanna or hear her, there will be a podcast uploaded tomorrow, latest by tomorrow evening. But you know, we kind of went overboard regarding the show, but that was the whole show. Paul, I know that if you want to talk about Iran, really quick, we can
Current
definitely.
events we want to talk about a little bit. I know we try to mix those in. Everybody should be very attentive to what's going on right now in Iran, and you know that Israel, the United States, have been rattling their sabers about they're going to invade Iran. Been involved in Syria right now, and
They're already-
Saudi Arabia. One thing I want people to remember and understand something. You know, right now there's this so-called movement, right? This freedom movement in Iran that sprang up. Let me say this, as somebody who's been involved in movements, like a lot of us, movements don't just spring up overnight, all right? And a lot of us who've been in the movement for a long time know that coincidences don't happen. It's really interesting that one of the things they're saying about Iran is that they want an end to the religious rule and that they want a secular government. Why is that funny? Muammar Gaddafi had a secular government in Libya, and they overthrew him, blew him up, and installed an Islamic fundamentalist regime in the United States. In the 1980s, the Soviet Union was supporting a revolutionary secular process in Afghanistan. The United States, for 10 years, did everything it could to take the country back to the Stone Age and install the Taliban, who now we're supposed to hate. In Yemen, they're fighting against the secular forces, and they're supporting the Muammar, the religious people, aided by Saudi Arabia, which is probably a country that's the most religious, theocratic state that exists in the world. Okay, so let's be clear. In Iran, women get to vote and run for Congress. Okay, and I'm not saying everything's perfect about Iran and we should defend the Islamic Republic, but what I am saying is this. We have to understand that wherever imperialism is, it ain't good. Okay, so we have to really look at this because the next target's going to be Iran. In Syria right now, there is a secular government. And the United States is supporting religious fanatics to overthrow that secular government and doing all kinds of things. The United States principally. Okay, so that's very important. That's coming. We're in a period right now where, you know, we have California just declared itself, quote unquote, a sanctuary state, or at least that's what they said.
It did,
That's what they were talking about, sanctuary cities. Here's something that's very important, though. Just like driver's license, just like everything else, they can call it that all they want. ICE is federal.
Yeah.
And if Donald Trump, and I happen to think that he will, and I'm not trying to alarm or scare anybody, decides he's sending ICE in, I don't see cops and sheriffs going out there to defend our communities. So what that means is we have to, and Unión del Barrio we're very proud because we just finished our 6th Congress and have come up with a lot of things that people are going to be seeing for the next 5 years, over the next few years. But we have to be clear about community self-defense. It depends on all of us to be able to be that much more organized, to step up our work.
First thing.
And in 2018, and I say this because the Democrats are going to come along with their flutes and their siren songs again, telling us the best way to struggle against Donald Trump is to elect the Democratic Party. This is the same Democratic Party. He just put it out there. He just said that DACA is going to depend on having a wall. And there's already Democrats out there. There's already these leaders in our community who are saying, well, I guess we have to support the wall if we want DACA. Bullshit. The community says to you, Donald Trump, and it says to the Vendidos, no fucking deal.
So as Joanna said, we are the boss.
We are the boss.
We are the boss. We are the ones. It's our fault. We put these people into office. We can't really complain about it. We can't. I mean, well, they're gonna be lying and saying whatever they want. But you know what? When you're gonna vote for somebody, you should do a little bit of history, a little bit of research on that individual. What's up with the background? Who were they related to? I mean, who were they not related to? Who? I mean.
And I'll say this too, our responsibility and our ability does not begin or end at the ballot box. It doesn't begin or end in that hurry. Most of the things that you see that people have won over the years and the movements have won,
They think they're a bunch of
it hasn't been in the voting booth. It's been because people stood and took over bridges. It's been because people, did things like that. Voting is a thing that people can do, and I think it's one of the tactics that we have to use. But it's not the only one. It's not the only one, and that's extremely important. So this is a year where it's going to require more organization. It's going to require more struggle. It's going to require a stepped up commitment.
More security?
It's going to require more discipline, more security. Wanted to bring up, and I don't know who can speak on this Friday. There's a call that's being made by some of my compañeros that were attacked.
Militarized security.
That was made by our comrades and one of the last people over prophets. Does anybody want to talk about that? Say that again. That was made by Will and some of the other compas that were attacked by these Nazis. That's been made that maybe we want to bring up to them. From the courthouse, yeah, they were attacked over.
Brother Will is gonna have a court date on. I think it's 12th. The 12th or the 4th?
The 4th is the restraining.
Well.
Yeah,
We'll post it.
He's gonna be having a court date soon. But what did you want to mention on that?
Well, it's the restraining order against Ryan McAdams.
Restraining order against Ryan McAdams.
And they are asking for community support out there to support him because obviously the Nazis are going to bring people to try to intimidate.
Yeah.
And so it's being acted. It's going to be at the downtown courthouse, the ironically named Hall of Justice. And so they're asking for everybody who can make it. And we know that a lot of us are working that day, unlike some of the Nazis, by the way. A lot of them somehow don't have a job or whatever, but but suddenly they want to get all of us, But they.
So wait a minute. There's differences, right? You're putting out there this Nazi word, but not everybody's a Nazi.
The white supremacists, the Trump supporters, the people that attacked. The alt-right as well, the people that attacked the people that attacked our compañeros at the border wall in.
So they weren't necessarily Nazis.
They weren't necessarily Nazis, but they were white supremacists.
So there's a difference there. You know what I mean?
Wannabe white supremacists? That's like going to IB?
No. It's just like saying, all Mexicans are that way. You know, it's not. It's the same thing. There's nationalists. There's patriots that consider themselves nationalists as well. But it's all supremacy.
Yeah.
You know, it's all supremacy, and it's not just white supremacy. It's religious supremacy. You know, that's the thing that, you know, that's when we talked about earlier about somebody going against their own self-interests. You know, if you really think about it, you know, and if you stand by one of these religions that's causing all these problems worldwide, you're part of the problem. Because they're trying to accomplish religious supremacy in the planet. And if you think about it, you go back in history, all those wars were not just wars for profit, they were also wars for religious belief, because it controls people's minds. It's control. So whatever religion is controlling the world, it's going to control the world, you know. And so that's what these people are. I mean,
It's all about
yeah.
God.
Yeah,
Gold, oil, and drugs.
well, you know, some people believe in God, and some people have done their research.
You know.
So that's what I'm saying. Is you got to do your research.
Yeah,
Don't just go by what you've been taught throughout your life, tradition, or you know, you had one of those moments. No, man, the life you're living right now is the life that you've created because of the choices that you've made, the choices that we've made. That's the life that we have. So if we get more conscious, more aware of the systematic problems that are in the community, we're going to be making more aware choices that are going to put us in different situations. Our community has to come back up. It has to come back up. We cannot stay on this level of playing field because they're going to exterminate us.
We need to unite.
They're going to exterminate us. That's the plan, you know. And so we, the community, if you're woke, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you're woke, come on down. Let's talk about this. We got to gather our people. It's time. Come on down.
Unity.
So, tying it back to that, join us tomorrow at People with Profits, our meeting, our San Diego 2018 kickoff meeting at Border X at 6:45 Wednesday. Come through and see and make a change. Be the change that you want to see. But tying it back to Will, if you want to support Brother Will, hit us up or hit him up. Nonetheless, but we show love to Brother Will. It serves as a perfect gateway to our announcements here. I know that we'll discuss much more and many more of the topics that we wanted to discuss and wanted to get to. But as a time constraint, we're going to move to announcements.
We do have actually our first noche de, as everybody knows, Unión del Barrio has held noches de conciencia before last year. We've changed those because of the urgency and because of the way things are to jornadas de defensa y resistencia. And our first one's going to be on January the 17th. My boss is actually going to be working with that. It's going to be around incarceration. I will bring more, and building a workers' party. I'm going to bring more information to the next meeting so I can really give that a good announcement. It's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. on the 17th, and that's going to be at the Centro Aslan Marco Anguiano at 2078 Logan Avenue in Logan. Also,
Actually, can I interrupt there?
Absolutely.
As People Over Profit is going to be having our meeting over there on the 12th, right?
Yes.
On the 17th.
17th.
Oh, 17th.
And that's
Same day.
because our guest speaker is going to be Julie Corrales, who's going to be
Hey,
speaking on,
Julie!
she's going to be speaking on this initiative.
Julie Corrales from People with Profits.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be having the Chicano Mexicano Prison Project. We'll be having its retreat the next night at 7, the 18th, at the same place, Centro Aslan Marco Anguiano. So if you want to find out, it's 2078 Logan Avenue. If you want to find out how to get involved in that, we will be organizing in June our 20th annual conference on colonialism in prisons. Paco here spoke at the last one last year.
Keynote speaker, did a
Keynote
wonderful,
speaker.
masterful job.
And we had some great speakers. This year, our theme, we do a different theme every year, will probably be Mujeres in Prison.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one of the areas that we're looking at. We try to focus every year on something a little bit different with mass incarceration. But it will be in June. It's usually the second week in June, and I'll come back with a date. We're getting ready for that as we speak. So it's going to be a good year, I think, for People Over Profits, Unión del Barrio, and everybody who's in the movement. The system's thrown down the gauntlet. I want to say one more thing, if I Good.
Please.
There's a thing out there that I know we'll talk about one day with some people that do it, that are involved in it or have been victims of it. And everybody who's worked in the activist community and tried to struggle around certain things knows this. The last few years has become quite a science. The last couple of years to do a thing called doxing. If anybody's heard that term yet, doxing is basically where you, since a lot of people's information is out there on the internet, you take someone who's involved, you take someone who's been doing a lot of struggle, and you actually put things out there to defame them and to try to neutralize them through defamation. You take charges that are made or things about them that may be half true, a quarter true, or completely untrue. You put them out there and you just attack them. Some of our compañeros have gone through this.
Well, that's what they're doing now?
And, you know, that's one of the ways that the system's trying to neutralize people.
Okay.
We really have to look at that because a lot of these groups that Paco and I mentioned a few minutes ago, which I generalized as Nazis, but most of them white supremacists, patriotic, or whatever we want to call them.
Yeah, they have various labels, but it's the same motherfucking hate core.
It's the hate and it's the white nationalism that we're looking at in these attacks. And one of the things that happened, we have to understand that these attacks don't just come from some pendejo in his garage. They come from the state. They come from the state, and they're put out there to neutralize us every bit as much as people try to attack Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and defame them. I want to say this because in the past, some of us, in fact, even myself, have in some level, in some way, been victim to this kind of attack. And I just, for one, want to say, as we start the new year, that I know who did it. I know who's behind it.
Kick it off right.
And it hasn't shut me up one fucking iota, and I'm going to be out there the whole next year. So, if that individual or those individuals are watching, listening, or whatever, understand this. Unión del Barrio is just as strong as we used to be. I'm going to just kick it up 10 notches.
That's right.
All right? You haven't changed anything, and the struggle is going to continue, like it or fucking not.
Kick it off. Kick it off. All right. Well, I have some announcements with that. This week, just like we mentioned, or I aforementioned, was the People Over Profits 2018 kickoff meeting, which we're going to showcase our 4 initiatives, which are going to be pushing throughout the year in our first 6 months. Come through. It's going to be tomorrow at Border X at 6:45. Come through, please, with that same energy that Joanna from East Coast Time Serve, Paco Mendoza from People Over Profits, and Paul Aceves from Unión del Barrio just gave off. I want to give off the People Over Profits calendar for January.
I want to do a couple shout-outs before.
Give some shout-outs, Paco,
people that are chiming in online. We have Richard Thompson. He's saying private prisons are a hot item on the new stock exchange. Yeah, you're right, Richard. It's because of the government that we have. They're really promoting incarceration of underserved communities. So, yeah, thank you for that insight. Also, Latanya, hey, we're there for you, girl. You let us know. We'll be there. All right? Latanya's involved with another radio show. She wants to bring us on there. Yeah, we're talking about facts. We do our own research. We don't go by what we've been taught or told. We do our own research and come down to the truth. And the truth will actually set you free from all this bullshit that's going on.
That's right.
Actually, let's see who else is on here. Steve, we'll say hi. Gary, what's up, Gary?
What's up, Gary?
Robert Smith. Robert Smith wants to invite us over to his event on February 20th. You let us know, bro. We'll be there.
What's up, Rob?
People Over Profits every Wednesday at 6:30. Come on down at Border X, 2181 Logan Avenue. Hey, the community's coming. It's about raising the village. You know, it's about putting everybody back on the spot because you know what? They sold out. We are their employers.
That's right.
Davey Whipple, you know, brother, much love with you all the time. Yeah, and we. That T-shirt is coming up, bro. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
We'll get it to you, man. We'll get it to you.
Let's see. Yeah, and for the rest of you, man, thank you for being online here with us. I mean, we got to make the time this year. This is the year of power. This is the year of empowerment for the people, by the people, and as we've said since the 60s, all power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Let's stay on top. Let's organize. That's the missing component from us and them. They're fucking organized. They're so fucking organized, they got us in this little corral. But guess what? We're teaching people how to get out that fucking corral today. So come on down, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 at Border X.
And happy anniversary to the Cuban Revolution.
Viva
Que viva la Revolución Cubana.
That's right.
We've been yes. Just one disclaimer. We've been using the word felon loosely. It's formerly incarcerated individual,
Or just as an
or just any returning citizen, whichever you which may want to use. But semantics are important, and we emphasize that as people with Prophet San Diego, Unión del Barrio, and Chicano Mexicano Prison Project.
Let's stay respectful to
definitely.
everybody. You know, just because you're at a higher level of financial abilities doesn't make us any better than anybody else.
At all.
So please, man, let's just get everybody on the same fucking level. What's so hard about it?
And it doesn't mean you will be next week. All right? Let's keep it real.
Well, I want to kick
Buenas
out. I just want to
noches,
kick out
noches.
2018. Just want to recap the calendar because people with Prophet San Diego is excited. We're all excited to jump on the boat. We got a question and answer forum with the candidate for District Attorney Genevieve Jones right at the end of the month. Next week we're gonna do a team building exercise with our weekly meeting on Wednesday, which is gonna be super dope. And then on the 17th we're gonna be doing the Jornada de Resistencia and support. People with Prophet San Diego is gonna go over to Cama, the Centro San Marco Andiano, to show support to our sister Julie Corrales, who's doing the Voter Restoration and Democracy Act presentation there, and to show love to our comrades of Unión del Barrio as well. And the 24th, we'll be doing a history teach-in also on the history of the DA and its functions through San Diego County and the power that they hold and they wield and what they must do in order to
And also develop questions.
Definitely.
We need some real fucking questions for the DAs. You know what I'm saying? Because they have people's lives on their fucking palms right there. You know. So we really have to be very conscious, very aware. And like I said, look up your candidates, look up their background, who they are, where they're from. Because, you know, there's a lot of, like, you know, in a religious text, that there's a lot of wolves out there in sheep's clothing. You know, they're playing like, I mean, we see people come to our events all the time that are running for office, but we don't see them, you know, actually creating events. Going out there and serving the people on their own, doing their own thing instead of having the camera there. So
and look
keep
at
an eye on all that stuff.
And especially look at things like how much money do they take from private prisons? How much money do they take from the correctional officers? What's their position on get tough laws, on 3-strike laws, on things that we're starting to see, on this ramped up war on drugs? What is their position? And then be prepared to go out there and challenge them on why. Because they go for these sound bites because the people voting them in and the rich profit off of that. And that's why they're so dedicated to telling us how unsafe we are. It is time to yank the mask off of this system. And it's also time to put some people on check and ask them, where are they? What side are they on? Are they the side of the people? Are they the side of repression?
It's so really funny because, you know, they get to criminalize us while they're being criminal. And we hired them for this position. I mean, let that sink in a little bit. They criminalize us. If you're hungry and go and get some food, you're gonna go to prison. You're gonna go to prison for stealing, you know, for trying to self-sustain, you know. But yet they're over there raping, you know, all our funds and that we had acquired, you know, Social Security and all those other things, and making all those, you know, backroom deals with these corporations, just selling us out, selling everybody out. Look what they're doing in North Dakota, you know.
Right.
Like, come on, they're just selling us out. So we are the fucking employers.
Right.
We have to get that in our head. Get it in your head. Who did you vote for and what are they doing for you?
That's right.
And if they're not doing anything for you, then you need to make a change there in your voting system because something is not right. We've all been indoctrinated to believe that there's these two parties and one of them's looking out for this kind of people and the other one is looking out for the other kind of people, they ain't looking out for nobody.
They like to switch around every
They're
other
not
80
looking
years.
out for
See our
anybody.
population.
We need to get rid of that two-party system. You know what I mean? We need to, like Joanna said, we need the we party.
In the late 90s,
You know?
in the National Chicano Moratorium Committee, we had a big sign that said deport the two-party system. And it also reminds me of something else, Paco, that one of our compas and elders, David Rico from the Brown Berets of Aztlán, and also one of the founders of Unión del Barrio said once in an article and a few speeches back in the late 80s and early 90s, I heard him say, he said, it's like when he was talking about police brutality, he said, it's like we pay the police $1 and 50 cents is to fight crime and 50 cents is to kick our ass. And it's like we're paying to catch an ass kicking.
Exactly.
We're paying to get hit over the head with a baton.
Yeah.
We're paying somebody to lock our son and daughter in prison.
And
That
we're
makes
paying-
no sense.
And we're paying these politicians to criminalize us.
To profile us. We're going up, giving them some money, giving them a vote and saying, here, make me do the perp walk. And that's the kind of thing that needs to stop. The only way it can stop, voting is one way, but we have to get organized. We have to be organized.
Organize.
It's the only way we can do it. Join an organization. Doesn't have to be Unión del Barrio. Doesn't have to be People Over Profits. We'd like it if it was. But if you find another one, if you find a better organization or something, form that. But be organized. Let's be collective. Let's start to work together. Let's bust the isolation. Let's not let the system impose individualism and isolation on us. Now's the time to come out there, and now's the time to struggle and get out on the streets.
That's right.
Well, the good thing is that all power lies within the people,
That's right.
and all power to the people.
All
Right?
power to the
All
people.
power to the people. This ends our show, nonetheless.
Love y'all.
Yeah, hell of a kickoff for People Over Profits, San Diego, and Village Voice Radio.
And please share with your
please share,
friends.
yeah,
share
definitely.
this with your friends. and
Start a
remind
dialogue. Start a dialogue. Even start an argument. That's
Check
not
out
bad.
yeah, check out
That
our
ain't bad.
website. Check out our website.
Hey man, you know what?
On
That's
the
how
About Me section.
that's how we come to things. This thing about don't talk about politics, talk about politics.
Talk about
Argue
it.
about politics, talk about it, get it out there. That's what we need. Stimulate somebody's thinking, let them stimulate yours.
Challenge. And the biggest challenge is challenge what we say.
We welcome it.
Por favor. Do your research. We'll be here next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Any questions you want to challenge that we've, as people of profits, profess, we're here to answer those.
And as our comrades in the African People's Socialist Party say, Uhuru, freedom.
Somos libres.
Rest in power, brother Caleb Cart.
And rest in power, Erica Gardner.
Rest in power.
Yeah.
Rest in power.
Buenas noches.
Later.
Yeah, buddy.